Our featured story today is about an Imperial Japanese Army officer who remained at his jungle post on an island in the Philippines for so many years. He refused to believe that the World War II was over. Was he abandoned by his country during the war? Or is this a real example of patriotism and loyalty till the end? Stay tuned and find out.
Welcome to the Nothing Box, our favorite place to hang out when we're just busy doing nothing.
It all happened with a simple command. In late December 1944, a group of young Japanese soldiers arrived in Lubang, a strategic island 16 miles long and 6 miles wide on the southwestern approach of Manila Bay and the island of Corregidor. The deep forest was suddenly flooded with heavy footsteps and sound of unloading weapons and supplies. After getting settled into their camp, a tall man in his late 40s called out his men to gather in. It was Major Taniguchi. As they listened to him intently, he gave the order to sabotage harbor installations and an airstrip to disrupt the coming American invasion. They understood the mission and proceeded with the strategy. Day after day, they took every chance to sabotage the American troops, but it was in the middle of January when the superior officers on the island command changed their mission. Prepare for a Japanese evacuation. So on February 28, 1945, the American troops had arrived. Immediately, they were bombed and shot heavily by the Japanese forces. It was indeed a bloodbath between the Americans and Japanese army. Most of Major Yoshimi's men were killed. Major Yoshimi Taniguchi immediately called out Lieutenant Onoda and gave his final orders to stand and fight. He said, "It may take 3 years, it may take 5, but whatever happens, we'll come back for you." Sounds promising, so Lieutenant Onoda agreed to follow the orders and gathered his troops to carry on the fight. Their weapons and skills were their last hope to finish this battle with hopes to be victorious. From their location, they watched the Japanese fleet withdrew from the American invasion, moving a little further away from the Lubang Island, where he remained 93 miles southwest of Manila. The island was covered with smokes of gunshots, ammunitions, and loud cries of wounded soldiers screaming for medic and help. Since he is loyal to a military code, preferring death to surrender. Days, weeks, and months of fighting. Finally, Japan surrendered in September, and thousands of Japanese soldiers who fled from Lubang War Zone were scattered across China, Southeast Asia, and Western Pacific. Many stragglers were captured by the Americans and others went home, while hundreds went into hiding in the deep forest, mountains, and caves, rather than surrender or just commit suicide. Many of them died of starvation or sickness. Some of the survivors have seen leaflets scattered everywhere, but refuse to believe the leaflets and radio announcements saying the war is over and the Japanese has lost the battle. Now back to Lieutenant Onoda. He is an intelligent and highly trained in guerrilla tactics. One day, while searching the rural areas, 3 of his men found leaflets proclaiming the war's end, but they believed that these are just enemy's propaganda. They built shelters, gathered rice and other food from a village, and killed cows for meat. The tropical heat, rats, and mosquitoes made their lives so uncomfortable, even though they faced the situation, and they still kept their uniforms intact and their rifles in good condition. Since they believed themselves to be at war, they invaded American and Filipino search parties and attacked other villages they thought to be enemy guerrillas. About 30 innocent civilians were killed in this fight with the Japanese over the years. In 1950, one of his men surrendered in the Filipino forces, while two others were shot dead, one in 1954 and another in 1972, by the island police officers searching for renegades or pirates. In 1974, a student named Norio Suzuki has found Lieutenant Onoda, the last holdout, and pursued him to come home. But the brave Onoda refused, and he insisted to wait for his orders. So what happened is, Mr. Suzuki returned with photographs, and the Japanese government was surprised to find out that he's still alive, so they sent a delegation including the lieutenant's brother and his former commander to relieve him of duty formally. When he saw his brother, he really cried and told Toshiro, "I'm sorry, I have disturbed you for so a long time." And for the very first time after 29 years, he realized that the war is indeed over. Moving forward in Manila, the lieutenant, wearing his old and worn-out uniform, presented his sword to President Marcos and was pardoned for crimes committed, while for having thought that the war is still ongoing. I wonder how it feels like not to come home and suffer for 29 years. Comment below your opinions and don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button to get good fortune for the next 29 years. He had a hero's welcome when he arrived in Tokyo, as his family and crowd cheered for his return. His story was spread all over the news, and Japanese people admired his patriotism and survival life in the jungle. It was surreal, and most of his family and friends believe that he died in 1950s. In one of his speech, he shared some of these words of wisdom. "I was fortunate that I could devote myself to my duty in my young and vigorous years." A reporter asked what was on his mind all the time in the jungle, and he said, "Nothing but accomplishing my duty." After his national welcome in Japan, Mr. Onoda was examined by doctors who found him amazingly in good condition. He was given a military pension and signed a $160,000 contract for a ghost-written memoir, "No Surrender, My 30-Year War." As his story went global in books, articles, and documentaries, he still tried to lead a normal life. In 1975, he moved to a Japanese colony in Sao Paulo, Brazil, where he raised cattle. The following year, he married Machi Onuku, a Japanese tea ceremony teacher. The couple returned to Japan in 1984 and founded the Onoda Nature School, a survival skills youth camp. Mr. Onoda revisited Lubang, the site of his long holdout, in 1996 and gave $10,000 to a school there. In recent years, he lived in Japan and in Brazil, where he was made an honorary citizen in 2010. In an editorial from Tokyo newspaper said, "To this soldier, duty took precedence over personal sentiments." Onoda has shown us that there is much more in life than just material affluence and selfish pursuits.
Did you like our topic for today? Check out our latest videos and other cool stuff by subscribing to our channel. And don't forget to hit that notification bell to get the latest updates. Till our next video, ciao!